Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Siddhantotpala Saranitya Hang Samvilas Atmakam Audaryakya Sudhama Sevaka Dhanam Vishrambha Bhakti Pradam Yajna Yukti Vichakshanam Tvaghabido Vaishishta Shaktya Sada Vandeham Tripurari Namaka Yatim Shri Bhakti Vedantinam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Swami Shri Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupada Te Namaha Gurvagyam Shirasi Dritva Shaktya Vesha Swarupine Hare Krishna Mantrena Paschatya Prachatarine Vishvacharya Prabharjaja Divya Karunya Murtaye Shri Bhagavata Madhurja Gita Jnana Pradayine Gaura Shri Rupa Siddhanta Saraswati Nishevine Radha Krishna Padam Bhoja Bringaya Gurave Namaha Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Vadanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sareka Varanam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Shri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Sarasvatanam Varaham Vandetam Shubhadam Madeka Sharanam Nyasishwaram Shridharam. Oh. We are speaking on the first chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. This is the third session. In the first one, we were bringing up how the whole message of the Bhagavad-gita is present in the first verse. Actually, the first word is Dhritarashtra, which, actually his name kind of means attachment. And the verse ends with Sanjaya, which is when you have given up attachment and conquered your senses. And that process of surrendering one's senses to Krishna is the abhideya. And we have also the prayojan in the verse, the ultimate goal in the word Kurukshetra. So we often say we often have the order that we say it's Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. But it also makes sense to say Sambandha, Prayojana, and Abhideya. But first you explain the concept of who you are and who God is, and then give a taste of the Prayojana, like what the potential is, what the potential relationship, the potential for relationship you have with Krishna. And then when you're inspired to do that, then you can be told what the abhideya is, how to get there. And then in the second session, we were going more into Kurukshetra, as my Guru Maharaj is instructing us that when Gaudiya Vaishnavas hear the word Kurukshetra, their mind should go to the meeting of Krishna and the Vrajavasis in Kurukshetra. So we were reading the chapter in Golden Volcano of Divine Love by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And there it's brought up the very revolutionary statement by Bhaktivinoda Thakur that actually Bhaktisiddhanta made it more made it sound more striking by saying that those who want to go and do bhajan in Vrindavan are shallow, and that the real place of bhajan is Kurukshetra. and that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was desiring to build a bhajan kutir in Kurukshetra and live for the rest of his life there. Because for the reason that serving Radha when she is in her most needy condition, then you will be able to give the most important service to her. And I recommend reading Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila chapter 1, text 53 to 85 to go even more deep into this, because sometimes people ask how they can serve Radharani at Kurukshetra, and we can begin by worshipping Rupa Goswami's ears. In this moment here, when he's hearing the verse of that Mahaprabhu is reciting during the Ratha Yatra, and he's able to detect what it actually means. Swarup Damodar could also understand, but Rupa Goswami was the one who broadcast the meaning of Mahaprabhu's verse there, which talks about Radharani at Kurukshetra. In this time, we will go into, so just like the whole message of Bhagavad-gita is in the first verse, we can also find the whole message in a small section of verses, which are text 20 to 25 in the first chapter. And one could say that there are many beginnings to Bhagavad-gita, and this is one of them, because this text 20 starts with the word atha, like we heard, for example, Vedanta Sutra starts with Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So this text 20 starts with Atha, like now. So it's like, it's an auspicious way to begin a story. And this verse is about Arjuna raising his bow on the chariot. And this shows how he is not reluctant to fight at this point. He's very soon going to be reluctant because Krishna will put him in illusion, but here he is in his own, here he is himself, and he has very auspicious backing. For example, he's standing on the chariot that's given by Agnidev. He's holding the bow that's given by Agnidev. He has the flag of Hanuman on his chariot. And there's a story behind that also, that Bhima was in the Himalayas and was going to pick a flower for Draupadi, but there was a monkey lying on his path. So he asked the monkey to move, but the monkey asked him to just lift his tail and go, because the monkey was tired. And Bhima was not able to lift the tail. And Bhima is stronger than 1,000 elephants. So he understood that this is a special monkey, and it turned out to be Hanuman. And so they had a conversation there, and Bhima found out that Hanuman was his elder brother, because they are both sons of the wind god Vayu. And Hanuman gives the blessing that he will be on Arjuna's chariot during the Kurukshetra war, and that he will roar when the Pandavas are roaring, and he will in this way strike fear in the hearts of Duryodhana and his followers. So Arjuna is raising his bow here as soon as they're as soon as he sees the armies. And whereas when Duryodhana sees the armies, he gets kind of nervous and is trying to talk himself into believing that he can win the fight. But Arjuna is just raising his bow, and then he begins to speak to Krishna, and Krishna is in this verse called Rishikesh. And actually, Sanjaya only uses two names for Krishna in the first chapter. Arjuna is using several names, but Sanjaya only uses Madhava and Rishikesh. And he has been using the name of Madhava in the 14th verse, and that's the first name of Krishna that is pronounced in the Bhagavad-gita. And it's a very high name because one can see it as meaning Radha Krishna. And my Guru Maharaj is commenting that Sanjaya is indicating that this means that Bhagavad-gita is ultimately about the love of Radha Krishna. And as I see it, Sanjaya may or may not be aware of that, but that's kind of like the underlying meaning, that he is the instrument of revealing. But then he goes over to calling Krishna Rishikesh instead, and so from then on he only calls him Rishikesh. And my Guru Maharaj is commenting that like here is again like you give this first taste of something sweet, and then you kind of have to make the point of how to get there. So then he's indicating that Krishna is Rishikesh, the Lord of the senses. So again, there is this thing, we have to control our senses first to be able to realize Madhava, Krishna. And so now comes Arjuna's first words in Bhagavad-gita, and it's a very high thing, the first thing he says, because he is instructing Krishna to move the chariot, and Krishna moves the chariot. And then Krishna is moving the chariot and putting it in front of Drona and Bhishma. And here comes Krishna's first words in Bhagavad-gita, and he says, just see all the Kurus assembled here. And there we have Krishna is calling them Kurus to make the point that they are all the same family. And in that way, he's pointing out Arjuna's family attachment. And this is like an opposite way of making the same point as like what is the problem pointed out in the first verse, where Dhritarashtra makes a difference. He says, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu, instead of just saying the Kurus, talking about them as one family, he makes a difference. And that is also out of family attachment. But here Krishna is talking about them as one family, but still making this point about family attachment. And my Guru Maharaj comments that this is the most important verse of Bhagavad-gita, because it's Krishna pointing out your attachments, so like showing you what you have to work on. But then to rewind a little bit to when Arjuna is asking Krishna to move the chariot, the amazing thing there, and this is the high point of Bhagavad-gita, is that Arjuna is able to command Krishna. So Krishna's devotee is able to control Krishna. And this is the image that there's a story of a South Indian Brahmin when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is on his pilgrimage to South India. He is in the town of Rangakshetra, and he's at the Ranganath temple, and there was a Brahmana who would come every day to recite the Bhagavad-gita, all the 18 chapters, but he was not able to pronounce the Sanskrit correctly. So sometimes people would make fun of him, and we can imagine how he would feel if we were reciting Bhagavad-gita and people would laugh at us. Like, I know how I would feel. But this Brahmana, he was absorbed in ecstasy while reciting. So people making fun of him was not bothering him at all. And so Mahaprabhu saw this Brahmana, and he was very pleased to see how like Mahaprabhu could see the ecstatic symptoms. For example, trembling, tears, and perspiring. So he asked this Brahmana that, what is it that gives you this this ecstasy while reading Bhagavad-gita? He's asking what artha, like what meaning of, like what is the meaning of Bhagavad-gita that you're absorbed in while recitating? And the Brahmana responded that he's not very good at understanding like the words really. He's not very learned in Sanskrit. But his guru had told him to recite the Bhagavad-gita, so he was simply following the order of his guru. So this is very similar to how Mahaprabhu himself was conceiving of himself when he was chanting his Diksha mantra that he got from Ishvara Puri. He was saying I'm only a fool, but my guru told me to chant this mantra, and it makes me ecstatic. So the same thing about this Brahmana in South India. He was told by his guru to recite the Bhagavad-gita, and he was doing it and feeling ecstasy. And he told Mahaprabhu that all he can think of when sitting with the book and reading is that he's seeing this image of Krishna holding the reins of the horses, and being Arjuna's charioteer, like being subservient to Arjuna, so subservient to his own devotee. And Mahaprabhu said that whatever you have understood of the Bhagavad-gita is the real meaning, and you're a qualified reciter of the Bhagavad-gita. And the Brahmanas could understand that Mahaprabhu was Krishna himself, and Mahaprabhu instructed him to not tell this to anyone. And this Brahmana became a devotee of Mahaprabhu and stayed with him throughout the whole 4 months that Mahaprabhu was there at Rangakshetra. Yes. I should mention also that in this section here of the Bhagavad-gita, we hear the first few words of Krishna. But we have also heard that he blew the conch before that, and that is like another thing, of course, that Arjuna has. He has like Arjuna also has his conch. Krishna has his conch. Those are also divine, just like the chariot and the flag and the bow. Of course, he has Krishna himself on the chariot. That's the main thing. But so these few words of Krishna, like here, see your attachments, was preceded by Krishna blowing his conch. which struck fear in all the people on the opposite side. And so the commentators are pointing out how this is how we can see our japa, that taking our japa and chanting is like striking fear in all the anarthas. Also, another beautiful thing about the flag of Hanuman, pointed out by some commentators, is that Hanuman is a devotee, and in the same way, if we take a devotee's teachings and keep as the flag on our chariots, then we will be assured of success, just like Arjuna. Also, there are some, like all these auspicious things that are also indicated by the names of Krishna, like Madhava, for example. If we can like do the same thing as is done in principle in the Bhagavad-gita, like every morning, for example, when we put on tilak, when we say Om Madhavaya Namaha, we can think of Madhava, the husband of the goddess of fortune. So wherever Madhava is, there is fortune and there is success. So if we think of all these kind of encouraging meanings of Krishna's names, when we put on our tilak or chant his names, it is helping us to kind of win the war against our anarthas throughout the day. So that was it for me. Now, if all the devotees can log in again when I close the meeting, then you will get to hear Syamananda's last class on Sharanagati. But first, if anyone has any questions or comments, you're welcome, or you can comment on Tattva Viveka forum also. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Prabhu. Sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you everyone for coming, and if you log in again as soon as I end this meeting, then Ashura Maharaj will be there. So Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki jai, Sadhu Sangha ki jai, Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.